Okay. Are you staying in Singapore right now?
Yeah.
Okay. What the weather condition there and COVID situations?
At present, the COVID situation is not that good. Means since last 20 days, cases are increasing. Like every day, it's like 100, more than 100. Means Singapore is no, Singapore 100 is too much. So means like for India, it's like nothing, but it's like for here, it's too much.
Okay. Okay. Right. So,
So we are in
are you
kind.
staying
Yeah.
inside campus?
No, no, not in the campus. Outside campus.
Okay. Okay.
So IIT Kanpur is asking means allowed to call the students. Means yeah, you are at campus.
This IIT Indore, yes, we are in campus only.
Okay. Means you
But
are MTech or PhD.
sorry, ma'am,
You are a master student or PhD student.
I'm PhD student.
Okay, so PhDs are allowed. Means they are calling
Yes.
students.
Yes. Some window procedure is there. The
Okay.
student who take second dose who can enter and otherwise not.
Oh, okay, fine.
Okay, so ma'am, now we are going to start
Okay.
presentation. A very good morning to all the participants present here. Hope you all are doing well. On the behalf of IEEE NTC Student Chapter, IIT Indore, I welcome you all in our another webinar. Today we are going to have Dr. Arpita Datta, postdoctoral research scientist from School of Computing, National University, Singapore. Thank you, ma'am, for accepting our request for this webinar. Dr. Arpita is going to give a lecture on the topic of hierarchical localizing software fault using DNN. Before the start of event, let's just mention our sponsor, Pfeiffer Vacuum, Jagatech Corporation, Excel Instrument, Rudraksh Technology, Optimized Solution, Streamline, and Mansa, who are our constant support for organizing such events. Now, moving toward here is a brief introduction on our speaker of the today's webinar. Dr. Arpita completed her MTech in 2017 from NIT Raulgila and PhD from IIT Kharagpur in 2021. Currently, she is working as a postdoctoral research scientist in School of Computing, National University, Singapore. She is interested in using program analysis and machine learning techniques to solve the problem of software testing. Basically, she is focusing on MCDC using dynamic symbolic execution. She is a team member of Tracer X research group. She has published more than 30 research papers in reputed conference and journals. Her research interest is in software testing by program analysis and machine learning techniques. I request Dr. Arpita to share her screen and start with the lecture. Participants are requested you to keep audio in mute mode during the talk. However, you can post your queries in the chat box, which will be discussed at the end of the webinar. Dr. Arpita, you can may proceed now. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jyoti, for such a nice introduction. Okay. My screen is visible,
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
right?
yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So, like, first of all, um, good morning, everyone. I am Arpita Datta. I'm a research fellow at School of Computing and near Singapore. Already Jyoti told me to everything, so I'm not repeating. So I'm directly going to the plan of our talk. Today we are going to discuss about hierarchically localizing software faults using deep neural networks. So, like our plan of the talk is like this. I will start with the introduction, the motivation behind this work, step in this area for solving this problem. Then, Based upon the shortcomings of existing techniques, we have decided our objectives, and then to means complete those objectives, we have proposed a technique called HIDIT, and then we have evaluated the technique. We will discuss the results, and then I will conclude with some future directions. So, as I know that our audience is not completely from CSE, but as we know that nowadays, see, computer science is like everywhere, from our like basic household appliance like microwave, washing machines to like aircrafts. In everything, we use computer science. Computer science is nothing but like application of computers and the compute its computing power to solve all different kinds of problems like from biology, so means every avionic systems, everything. So we can see there are different areas of software: data mining, databases, systems, IoT. But what we basically focus and we use is like artificial intelligence. It's giving results, so we are using it. But my area others, we are also using machine learning to solve some of the problems of these software systems and programming languages. And like in order to develop a particular software, okay, if you see the complete journey of a software development, the first thing is started with the requirement analysis. The requirement analysis means what are the like requirement of a user, like which type of UI he wants, like user interface he wants, what are the functionalities is like the software must contain,
Ma'am, uh,
who are the yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah, you are
your
Jyoti.
audio is breakable. Actually, you are not audible clearly. Some network issue is there or something else. I don't know. You are not audible in proper form.
Oh, sorry,
Your
sorry.
voice is very breakable.
Okay, 1 minute.
Ma'am, you can turn off your video so it will be good now, maybe.
Okay. Uh, wait. I will also. Okay. It is not completely expected, right? The network issue and all from Singapore.
And now you are audible,
And,
ma'am.
is it fine? Is it fine?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Can I
Please
proceed?
continue. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you can stop me, right? Miss, you can stop whenever you find like it's not audible or something.
Yes, ma'am. Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. So now coming back to this, like if we like see the complete journey of a software, so it starts from requirement analysis. Then after gathering the requirements, what we do, we design the like system, like what are like features and all, like how it based upon some diagrams like UML diagrams and data flow diagrams. And after that we start coding based upon the designs, like nowadays from the different design software also we can retrieve the codes. And then some when the in the skeleton we do other the remaining programming. And after that the testing parts and deployment starts. But it shows the like complete like traditional way of software development. But nowadays we cannot wait till the coding completes and then we start testing. The testing starts from initial part only. Now we do testing from at the requirement phase, at this design, at end, means whatever we do in parallel we do testing. So the main objective of testing is that we try to find the bugs. We try to find that is there any fault in our program, if something is like that. And if we found something, then our main thing is that to localize that particular bug. Okay, so what is fault localization? It is very obvious from the name, but I will means like to explain. Like whenever a developer is developing a program and he execute his program with some test cases and he found any failure, the first thing he tries to do, he tries to localize the bug. He tries to localize that in which line we have the bug or in which module we have the bug. Okay, So in market there are different automated bug localization techniques are available, which helps to guide the programmer to search for a bug in a supervised way. For example, you can take that you have a small program. Nowadays, a small program means 200 to 300 lines of code. Even if you have a bug in that small program, if you start searching from the starting line onwards, it is very cumbersome. Okay, like it's very like complex. It's like it's not that easy. So you if we use any automated bug localization technique, so it will give ranks to the statements. Like first you search in the fifth statement, it has the highest probability of containing bug, then you go to the 11th statement or something like this. So the bug localization techniques return you the rank list of statements, like suspicious statements. Then, like based upon this definition of the automated bug localization, I would like to discuss actually the motivation behind this work. As already I have told, like this is a like bug localization is very expensive, time consuming, tedious in the complete process of software debugging. And as the size of program and its complexity increases, its likelihood of bug containment also get increased. Therefore, to reduce the total debugging time, we need to localize the bug by searching very minimal lines of code, and the localization algorithm should be efficient. And if we can make the debugging time less, means if we can reduce the debugging time, the overall software development cost will reduce, means it will get reduced up to a very large extent. So uh, like to solve or to contribute something on this, we have decided to propose a better fault localization algorithm. So like in our approach we have means to understand our approach, we the basic things. Like these basic things are somewhat like, if we have a program and we have test cases, we are storing or we are gathering the information like for which of the test cases which statements are getting executed. For example, when we are running a program, like these are the program elements, statements. So for this test cases, if this statement is invoked by a particular test statement, so we are storing it as 1, otherwise we are storing the information as 0. And also we are keeping the result of that particular test case. If the test case is pass, then we store the result store the result as 0, otherwise 1. Here the pass or fail meaning
Ma'am, can you hear me? Ma'am, you are not audible. Ma'am, can you hear me? Ma'am, your voice completely gone. You are not audible. Narendra, am I audible to you?
Yeah, yeah, Jyoti, you are audible.
But maybe ma'am
Yeah,
unable to hear
actually,
me.
yeah. Hello, Arpita ma'am. I think some network issue may be there.
Okay.
I think she's not able to have a voice.
If someone having contact number of him, her, then please contact to her and tell the same.
Yeah, please Pawan, please coordinate with him there. Yeah, that's we are trying to reconnect with the speaker. Please hold on. Pawan, please coordinate with the speaker. I think she's not able to hear our voice and continuously presenting her talk via WhatsApp or any other way you can contact him. Her. Yeah, hello, Dr. Arpita. She's not able to.
I think she get to know. So I think
Yeah. Yes. I think.
Hello.
Yeah, ma'am. Actually, for the past 5 minutes, we are not able to hear from your side. Actually,
Okay. Sorry.
trying to reconnect you, but I think you are not able to our voice as well.
Yeah. I was like going through the slides completely. Oh, fine. So, do you remember on which slide I was there? Means till
slide
which
number
slide?
11. Slide number 11.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, one more.
Okay.
Yeah. From this onwards.
Okay. So I was telling, like in the virtual test route, actually, these test cases are practically not possible. Why? Because in this, at the time, we are assuming that only one statement is getting covered, and we have this type of execution vector for each of the statement. So, like for a test case to execute only one statement is not a practical thing, but that is why we call it as a virtual test suite. Actually, the main purpose of this test suite is like this: we will use this coverage data and execution result, real coverage data, for training our network, and to test our network we will use this virtual test suite. And then we have used this complexity matrix to calculate the complexity of function. Actually, we have worked on C programs, but you can take NMS. It can be generalized to any other programming language, like Java or anything else. But in the C, we know that we have functions as a modules. So to compute the complexity of a function, we have used cyclomatic strict modified cyclomatic measures. The maximum nesting, like the nested the level of the nesting present in that particular function, the number of lines and the number of paths present in that particular function. Now the deep neural network, we know that what is deep neural network, like it is a type of ANN with multiple hidden layers between input and output layer. It actually tries to map different mathematical formulation in order to produce correct output from the learned input data. And the relationship or the mathematical formulation can be linear or non-linear. For example, here we can see this neural network is tries to classify the images, whether the images are dog or not. So it just classifies the image as a dog. Now, agglomerative clustering, we have like different clustering methods. In this method, we just assume each of the elements, initially each of the elements as a separate cluster, and then we combine each of the cluster based upon their minimum distance until the number of clusters become 1. Then Kendall-Tau correlation. In Kendall-Tau correlation, actually we tries to find the mapping or the correspondence similarity between two different rankings. More the similar ranking is, higher the Kendall-Tau value. Actually, the value lies between -1 to 1. If the rankings are very similar, we will indicate with 1. If they are completely dissimilar, then we represent it -1. Like this is the formula how to calculate the number of concordant and discordant pairs. I'm not going into the details. So now we'll see some of the things, some of the approaches which are already present for false localization. Like majorly the techniques are divided into two categories: single false localization techniques or multiple false localization techniques. In single false localization techniques, the first thing is slicing, in which the program is sliced in such a way that only the relevant statements we need to check. Further, the slicing is divided in different techniques. Then we have SBFL, spectrum based method, where we have used different information of about a particular statement, like the number of fail or pass test cases that have executed that particular statement, and using those information and a particular mathematical formula, we have calculated the suspiciousness of a statement. And then this slicing, they have some drawbacks, so people move toward machine learning techniques. In the machine learning techniques, initially people use SVM, decision trees, and then they have used advanced methods like neural networks. So we will see how they have used, or how we will be going to use. And there's another domain, that is MBFL, that is mutation based false localization. And in the multiple false localization techniques, the one bug approach is like very naive. Like we will test the program, if there is any bug, we'll use any one of these single false localization techniques. We will find the bug, and again we will test if there is any failed test case, and just we repeat this like in a naive way. However, in a parallel debugging technique, we just cluster the test cases based upon their different fault revealing capacity, and use each of the test case to localize different faults in a parallel manner. So in a static slicing method, it just tries to it takes a particular program point, and then see the number of statements which are directly or indirectly affecting that particular point, and just computed the slice. In the dynamic slicing, it takes the execution information also to generate the slice. For example, if you see this is the original program, and we need to create a slice at statement 13 for variable x, so the static slice will be this. We have taken only those informations, only those statements which are affecting this x here. Okay, so using this method, we can see we have eliminated the statement number 5. But when we have considered dynamic slice, we have also eliminated the dynamic slice, means we are executing the program with n value equal to 0. So we can see that the else part is not required. So it has reduced the program, means like the slice size. But it can be observed that this slicing is like sometimes returning the complete program. Even though it is not returning the complete program, the size of the slices are very high. So it is not that much effective for us. Even it is not providing any ranking to the statements. So, but in spectrum based techniques, as I already told, that it takes a different information, the number of pass fail test cases, total number of pass or fail test cases that have executed statements. Okay, using this information and this particular formulas, people have generated like different methods, and using those methods they have just give ranks to the statements based upon their suspiciousness scores calculated by these formulas. And this rank list will like the effective one instead of as compared to the basic slicing approach. But the problem is that it also assigns same suspiciousness values to the statements. Okay, so to resolve this, different machine learning techniques are introduced. People initially use the SVM, support vector machine, decision trees to solve this problem, and later they have moved towards backpropagation network. Initially, the first approach was by Wang et al., the backpropagation neural network, but they found that it is like suffering from local minima or paralysis problem, so they moved toward radial basis neural network. But still, the radial basis and backpropagation network are not effective enough to map the complex functions. So for that, they have moved towards deep neural networks, and then the deep neural networks are also modified using the slicing information. Like it is embedded with slicing information, And then people use convolution neural network and recurrent neural network too. And also there are methods to combine the ranks generated by different SBFL techniques. Okay, so the basic approach of neural network is something like this. They use the coverage data for each test case and its corresponding test execution results to train the network. For example, this assume this is the simplest backpropagation neural network, in which they are giving this coverage data for a test case T1 as a training input, and just they are trying to predict the actual output for this corresponding data. Okay, so they are trying to predict the zero, but if they are unable to predict, so they will just train with the network error and then train with other data. It's like simple machine learning approach, simple neural network training backpropagation approach. And then after training the particular network, they use this virtual test suite to test or to estimate the suspiciousness of each of the element. So when they train, when they test with particular vector where only one statement is getting invoked, so they can estimate the suspiciousness of that particular statement. So based upon that, they have generated the rank list based upon the suspiciousness values computed by the trained network. And then like I have already told that these advantages of this method, like they are suffering from local minima and they have limited ability to express complex functions. So in the radial basis neural network, it is it is more sophisticated than BPNN. So they have used this method also, like it says like particularly they have also methods algorithm proposed to calculate the number of hidden neurons for a particular single hidden layer. And also some advances are made. Now this MBFL technique, I'm not going into that, like the mutation based technique. So the problem with majorly with these existing techniques are somewhat like this, that they are not very effective, especially for large size programs. And also the existing techniques often assign same suspiciousness values to multiple statements, and they do not address modular level false localization. Like if we have 10,000 lines of code, then they will train their network with like the execution and information of those 10,000 lines of code. But instead of that, we can like localize the bug at modular level, like first at function level, because the number of functions are quite smaller as compared to the total number of statement. And then after selecting that function level, it's better to localize the bug at the statement level. So they are not doing in that manner. And also those localization algorithms are not efficient for multiple bugs. Okay, so in order to solve these problems, what we have tried to localize, we have tried to propose a false localization technique which handle large size program, and we have used the approach of hierarchical model. Like we have first localized the bug at function level, then we went and we localized the bug at statement level. And to localize the bug at function level, we have used function complexity metric and function execution ratio. We will see in the later slides. And then we also tried to assign unique suspiciousness scores to each of the statements. Also, we have efficiently handled multiple bug localization based upon the clustering of failed test cases. So in our proposed approach, like we have trained a three-layer neural network, and then we have generated the suspiciousness values of the functions, and we have proposed an heuristic formula, like heuristic algorithm to select top case suspicious functions, and based up and then we have localized the bug at the statements of those top key functions. So for that, initially we thought to take only the function invocation information, like the statement invocation information used for statement level localization. But we found that if we see this f6 function, it's like a standard repository program print token. If we see the faulty function f6, has the execution information like 111 for each of the test cases. So we can observe that other functions which are non-faulty, okay, f7, f8, f9, they are also having the same execution like information. So the probability of f6 getting higher weightage is very less. So we like found that it's better to go for some other intrinsic information. For that we have used the function execution ratio and function complexity. Here the function execution ratio shows the number of statements executed in a particular function for a test case divided by the total number of statements present in that particular function. And in the function complexity we have used this methods like we have already discussed. So and then after taking this function complexity metrics like the number of executable statements, paths, cyclomatic state modified and maximum level of nesting, these values we have just like normalized those particular information values using min max normalization, and then we have added the normalized values to get a single value. And then this will be our input matrix like the function execution information, the complexity of function. Based upon this we have generated our input matrix, and this is our weight matrix for the hidden layer. You can observe the weight matrix is somewhat like sparse, very sparse, because you can see that we are just trying to give weights or connections to only the we are giving function execution ratio and function complexity metric for the first functions. So we are just trying to add the connections between these two nodes for this first input function, and we are trying to give no weights to other connections from this neuron to the other neurons. Okay, so initially in the weight matrix we have kept the random values to the the valid connections, and we kept 0 for the remaining connections. But we know that when it will be back propagate, then it will definitely assign some values to these connections. Therefore, to minimize the error, we have one more objective. We have objective to assign less values to these values. Okay, we have to minimize this. Therefore, our modified objective function is like we have to minimize this error, and also we have to minimize the values of this particular elements in that particular weight matrix. So we have like trained our network, and then we have tested our network using the virtual test route, and then after getting the values for each of the functions, we have sorted the values functions based upon their suspiciousness values and this algorithm. In this algorithm, the crux of this algorithm is like this: we are trying to find the knee of the functions. Knee of the functions means we are getting a function point from which the right side functions present are very suspicious instead of the functions present in the left side. So after getting this knee, the knee means the k value, we have selected the top suspicious functions, and we have taken the statement execution information only for those top k statements in the statements involved in those k functions. And then we have trained other network with the same features, and then after training that network we have tested the network with a other virtual test route. And now we have the suspiciousness values for all of the statements involved in those top k functions. For example, we can see this with this example program. Like this is a say small program with 3 functions, and we have these test cases t1, t2 and t3, and we have the outputs like it is printing the values for a, b, c. But this is the original program, but this is a faulty one. Like here, instead of returning a value, it is returning the b value. Okay, so this is a faulty function. Now initially the valid values for this is 0, -1 and 1, but now the failed test cases are giving values 0, -1 and 1. So based upon this test case information, we have created like execution vector function execution ratios and function complexity metrics, and based upon the values we have created our like function metrics, and we have trained our network. after training the network, we have tested with the virtual test suite this, and we received the suspiciousness values like this. So after ranking this, we found after using our algorithm, we found k value equal to 2, means we have to select top 2 functions. After selecting the top 2 functions, we have taken the statements involved in those top 2 functions, and uh, using this information we have trained other network. After training that, we have tested with virtual test suite, and we found the suspiciousness values of each of the statements involved in those two functions. We can see like our statement 7 is getting the value 0.28 is, and it's getting the rank second rank. Okay, so we have localized the bug by examining only 2 statements. Now we can see the experimental study. Like now to evaluate the like performance of a particular function false localization techniques, what we need to see like how many lines we have actually analyzed to get the bug. Okay, the lesser the value and the better the localization technique is. So the exam score is showing the number of statements that we have examined out of the total number of statements present. And in order to evaluate two different techniques, there's a like relative improvement achieved from by using technique I over the technique J. Okay, so and our experimental setup is like this. We have carried out the experiments over 64-bit Ubuntu machine with 8 GB RAM, and all the programs that we have tested are in C, and we have used like GCC compiler and GCUF tool to generate the statement coverage information, and to create the mutants that we will discuss for like multiple faults, we have used Milu tool and the static analysis tool that like understand C we have used for function complexity measurement. Now these are the programs, like these are the features of this program. For each of the program we have like number of faulty versions like 7, 10 in like this more than 200 faulty versions we have tested. The size of the program is like somewhat it's very small programs. Also we have like 173 lines of code, 93 lines of code, and also 407k program is like size of the program also we have tested. The number of functions are like this, and the number of executable statements, and the total number of test cases present in this programs. After that we can see like first we have trained our network. We have tested for like normal BPNN, like DNN with 4 layers, and our like high dip method. So we can found that the average values are very are very much better than BPNN and DNN in our method. Also we can observe the maximum number of functions required also very less. Like here they requires like 124 functions at their maximum point. However, we require only 59 functions. So like the proposed high dip is better at function level. At least at function level we are performing better than them. So it can be observed from the figure that we are able to remove like at least 50% of the functions for each of the program. Only for the set, like the number of functions we have removed is lesser than 50, but overall we can see like that the number of functions we can remove is sometimes like 2/3 of the functions we can remove, or at least 50% we are able to remove. Now, at the statement level, we have compared our approach with D star and RBFN. D star is a standard state-of-the-art technique. So we can see like our proposed approach high dip is like 31.61 and 66.59% more effective than D star best and worst. Also, it is like quite better than RBFNN. For RBFNN, you can see this green color line. It is like outperforming like at means for each of the point. Here like we are getting two different lines for the other techniques because those techniques are assigning same suspiciousness scores to multiple statements. Okay, so when there's like assigning multiple same score to the multiple values, we have get a best and a worst case. But in our technique we are assigning a single score, so we are getting only a single line. We are not getting best and worst, we have only a single value. so it's a single value for us. So we can see that for both the best and worst case, as compared to RBFNN, our proposed method is working better. Similarly, we have experimented with uh, other approaches also. Okay, for other, this is result for the spacesuit. Secondly, I've written Siemens here. Okay. And then we have compared the average time. We can see that the time required by TANFLA and D-star are in milliseconds. The time required by RBFNN in minutes, BPNN in seconds, and our proposal is also working in terms of seconds. Yeah, our method is taking like more time than TANFLA and D-star. However, it is working far better than BPNN and RBFNN. Okay, we are not performing as well as G-star and TANFLA because they are like mathematical formula based. But we are doing some training kind of thing, learning kind of thing. So we are taking means more time than TANFLA and D-star. Now we can see the technique we have proposed for localizing multiple faults. In multiple faults, first we have partitioned the test cases, failed test cases based upon their fault revealing property. So how we have separated the failed test cases? For this, first thing we have done, we have taken only those failed test cases which have unique execution vectors, because we can take the all the failed test cases, but it generally doesn't contribute in increasing the effectiveness, it only increases the time. So we have taken only unique failed test cases in terms of the execution vector, and then we have combined each of the failed test case vector with all the past test cases, and we have generated that number of test routes, and for each test route we have generated a statement ranking sequences based upon their HiDeep method. So for example, if we have f number of unique failed test case, so at present we have f number of unique sequences, and then we have combined the unique sequences using the Kendall-Tau correlation metric, then we have combined the clusters using that metric, and for combining the clusters we have used the hierarchical clustering method, agglomerative clustering method. While combining, we see which distance is lesser, and the distance metric is Kendall-Tau. Okay, after combining each of the rankings, now we have a single cluster, and then we have to break them. For breaking, what we are doing, we are taking the 80%, we are taking the top 20% of the faulty statements indicated by a particular cluster at top level, at f level, and also we are taking the top 20% of the faulty statement indicated by the test cases present at f minus 1th level. And if the similarity between the top 20% of the statements is more than 85%, that we have computed using Jaccard similarity, if it is more than 85%, then we see, then we say that they are denoting, or they are going uh, revealing the same kind of fault. So we kept those test cases in the same cluster. Likewise, if the similarity is less than 85%, so we have again separated those test cases. Like this, we have followed the method, and we have separated the failed test cases into different fault focused clusters. After that, we have used each of these clusters, and we have tries to localize the bug. So whatever I told, it's that only. After that, for experimenting, we have introduced different faults in the programs. Like we have introduced 2 to 4 number of faults, and this type is denoting the dominating and non-dominating faults. What is dominating? Here the dominating means if we have a fault if we have a nested loop, and in the nested loop, if you have a fault in the outside the loop present in the outer, okay, so we cannot observe the bug in the inside loop until and unless the bug in the outside loop is getting debugged. Okay, so, and if the bugs present in two different if else statement, or in different like modules of a program which are not like connected with each other, so we can say those bugs are not masking their effects. Okay, so those bugs are known as non-dominating bugs. That means which bugs mask the effect of other bugs are known as dominating bugs, and which do not mask the effect of other bugs is known as non-dominating bugs. Okay, then we have tried to see how many runs we have required to create those like localize those bugs. Okay, and then we have evaluated our method and compare our method with Tantler, D star, BPNN, RBFNN. It can be observed that for almost all the programs our method is like performing comparatively better than the other proposed approaches. Some of the methods in some of the cases like comparatively like equally performing better than existing techniques. However, on an average, like we are performing better than the other techniques. So our experimental result also shows like ours is like 21.22 percentage. However, the other techniques is taking like at least taking 26.01 percentage like statements. Also, like on average we are like average cases how much we are better than each of the techniques that we have reported only here. Now I would like to conclude like we have localized the bug first at the function level, then we have localized the bug at the statement level. We have introduced a hierarchical method of false localization, and using our hierarchical approach we are able to reduce at least 50% of total candidate statements, both in the case of single fault and multiple fault. And on an average, a proposed method is giving like 38 to 63% more effective result than existing methods. And in terms of efficiency, also our runtime is considerably less as compared to other existing neural network techniques. Um, that's all from my side. It's like
Thank you, ma'am.
the link to the article is this. Actually, it is a part of my PhD work. So the main contributors for this is Richa Mandal, Professor Pavitra Mitra, and Professor Rajiv Mall. If you'd like to see this link, you can go through this. And like the my contact information is this. And presently we are working on TESREX, so the link of this TESREX website is this. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for delivering such a wonderful and knowledgeable talk. Participant, now the floor is open for discussion.
Yeah. Okay.
Few questions we have in chat box
Okay.
from audience. Ma'am, first question is, which neural network model you used? Whether the model is self-created or generally available to use?
No, actually, we have used normal like DNN approach, like it's self-created only because we are tuning the weights, we are like modifying the connections. So it's like a standard model, but we have tuned it based upon our requirement.
Okay, okay. Next question is, have you also tested for the hardware implementation?
Hardware implementation regarding like what?
Hardware implementation means FPGA boards and all.
No, sorry, we have not implemented on those. Means we have taken only C programs.
Okay.
Then one more question is here, what are the data set used here?
Okay, so I would like to share again. Okay, wait, it is already shared, right? The dataset we have used is this. This is a dataset we have used, and I have also mentioned the links. It's like the data set is used this, and the links in this 25, 26, and 27. It's the 25, 26, and 20, like the SIR repositories and the repair benchmarks. And also we have created some like programs, and it's publicly available.
So, is there any other queries from the participants?
Yeah, Dr. Adita, I have actually one query.
Yeah.
Basically, in the recent time, DNN and C type of these things are most of the trending the research actually by using the memory store RAM devices. So
Okay.
experience about that?
Memory? Can you repeat
Yeah,
memory?
non-volatile memory is a memory store or RAM actually.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, you are asking. Sorry, I have very less knowledge in like
Yeah, okay, she's quite.
hardware perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, thank you so much.
Is there any other queries from the participants? If no further queries are left, then let's give a warm thank you to our speaker, Dr. Arpita ma'am. Now moving toward closing of our today event, I'd first like to thank all the participants for being patient listener and actively attending this webinar. A special thanks to our speaker, Dr. Arpita, for such a wonderful and knowledgeable talk. A big thankful to our sponsors, and at the end, thank you to all our teammates of the student chapter for successfully organizing the event. With this, goodbye and have a good day to all. Thank you so much.
Goodbye.